Hello and welcome to the Farming Today podcast with me, Kaz Graham. In this edition, farming policy in England. What does it aim to achieve and how well is it doing? And £2 million worth of support for struggling pig farmers in Scotland.
We are still majorly going to be in debt. We're very grateful for something, but it's not the answer to our problems at the moment.
But we start with the subject that we are still all talking about, and that's this summer's hot weather. Farmers in parts of the country say they're having to adapt to the sweltering temperatures. Some arable farmers are harvesting in the middle of the night when they can gather a better crop. And the heat's affecting livestock farmers too, with concerns about keeping animals cool and well watered and the risk of reduced milk yields. Charles Goadby, who farms near Nuneaton in North Warwickshire, has been speaking to BBC West Midlands reporter Rob Mair.
It's tough for us, but it's been tough for our cows as well. So we're doing everything we can to keep them comfortable. They'll get plenty of shade. We've got fans going. We've got water sprinklers, trying to keep them cool, keep them happy. And happy cows are productive cows.
But production has been hit for you during these heat waves.
Absolutely. So in the heat wave we had about 2 weeks ago, we saw our production fall from around about 40 litres per cow per day down to about 32 litres per cow. What we're going through at the minute, not quite so extreme, but the still production's down to around about 34, 35 litres.
And what sort of impact is that going to have on you and on consumers as well?
On the consumers, it shouldn't have too much of an impact. There's plenty of milk supply around. On farmers, we're paid on a set price. We have no say in that price. We're price takers, not price makers. So we're losing money on this. I mean, at the minute, we're being paid around 35 pence per litre for milk. Average cost of production is 40p. So when we're having drops in production because of this heat, it's hitting us in the pocket hard.
What would you like the government to do?
I think we need some more support, not necessarily in terms of handouts, but in terms of fairness within the supply chain. Allow farming to be long-term sustainable, allow farmers to make a profit, to reinvest, and ensure that we've got a good food supply here in the UK.
There's an arable side to your business as well, and that's obviously a serious challenge in this heat as well, the growing conditions.
We've seen harvest brought forward again this year. We're at the point now where crops are that dry, we're looking at harvesting at night to try and capture some of that moisture so we're not losing the grain as we're harvesting in front of the machinery.
How do you see the years ahead if we're told this sort of thing is going to be more common?
I think farmers are very good at adapting. It's what we've done for generations. If we look back and see how harvests have moved further and further forward, we adapt to change. Without the support and without the fairness and the returns to be able to enable us to do that, it's going to be hard. But we're up for the challenge. We just need the backing from government and from the public to do it.
That's Charles Goadby. Now, we are visiting some of the UK's biggest agricultural shows throughout the summer, and I'm really looking forward to bringing you the sights and sounds of the Great Yorkshire Show in Harrogate later this week. We've already been to the Highland Show, to the Balmoral Show in Northern Ireland, and we're off to the Royal Welsh in a couple of weeks too. Agricultural policy is devolved in the UK nations, and alongside visiting these national shows, we're taking a detailed look at policy in each of the nations. They're all taking slightly different approaches to farming policy post-Brexit, but the overall direction of travel is towards rewarding farmers for environmental actions. England is the only nation so far to have fully ended the old EU direct payments to farmers. I asked Richard King from farm business consultants, the Anderson Centre, to give me a pen sketch of how agricultural policy looks in England.
We have now moved to a model where the government pays farmers for what in the jargon is called public goods, which are things that the market will not pay for. So it's environmental goods, wildlife, biodiversity, water quality, air quality, all these kind of things. So moving away from income support, these kind of things, to actually purchasing these goods from farmers.
And how is it going?
It's a mixed picture, I think we'd say. I think that the government would be positive around that they are getting something for quite substantial amounts of taxpayers' money that is given to farmers. I think there's issues around the detailed administration of the schemes, sudden closures, how well the computer systems work, these kind of things. And of course, almost the problem from a farming perspective is that is there the budget to really support the ambition of the government? And also that budget does tend to reduce year on year because of the effect of inflation, and the government has never been that interested in uprating it for that. So funding to match ambitions is a bit of a problem.
If we look at the sustainable farming incentive, which is one of the environmental land management schemes that farmers can apply for, it's currently open. There are 2 windows or opportunities, as they're being called, for farmers to apply for SFI. The first one open now is for farms which haven't previously been signed up for an environmental land management scheme, and for small farms under 50 hectares. That is a very small farm, isn't it?
It is. There's almost been a bit of a subtle shift in government thinking over the last few months. In many ways, it doesn't matter whether it's a small farm or a large farm that's providing your environmental goods, but the government policy does now seem to be more geared towards spreading the money around and focusing a little bit more on the smaller businesses. Government has got some very stretching targets, legal obligations almost under its climate change and its environmental improvement plan. And the sustainable farming incentive, other parts of support is how that's going to be delivered in an agricultural sense, but there just doesn't seem to be enough funding there to do what the government wants it to do. They're effectively trying to get some of this change on the cheap, and if they really want to meet their targets, they may have to find some more money. But of course, we all know that government finances aren't in a good place, and there's plenty of other calls for that money.
What impact do you think this lack of money will have on farmers? Is it going to change the industry over the long term?
I think there will be at least some farmers who can't get into the schemes in the future, whether that's because they haven't got the right land type or in the wrong locations, or simply they end up at the back of the queue. And that will have an effect on their ability to remain in farming over the long term. Some of those might be able to make up that shortfall through better productivity, but that's easier said than done in many cases. So as the funding gets squeezed, then it certainly has an impact on some of the businesses, particularly those perhaps in the less productive parts of England that have always relied on this agri-environmental money to top up their farming incomes.
That's Richard King from the Anderson Centre. Farmers in Scotland have welcomed a £2 million emergency support package from the Holyrood Government, but they say it's not enough to stop them losing money. An outbreak of African Swine Fever in Spain has led to an oversupply of pork across Europe, which is significantly driving down wholesale prices. Farmers in Scotland and across the rest of the UK say that they're losing thousands of pounds a week. This support from the Scottish Government will allow independent pig farmers, who've historically been paid significantly less than larger producers, to claim back some of those losses. Our Scotland Rural Affairs correspondent Kevin Keane joins us now.
Yeah, well, this £2 billion package is just to help those in the independent pig sector in Scotland, because they are the ones that are losing the most money in this. It's basically a top-up for them. So it means that they'll receive the difference from the government between the price that they make when they sell the pig and 85% of the standard pig price. Now, that is a price that's monitored by the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, and it shows the weekly average that's paid per kilogram deadweight for a pig. Now, the trouble is that that figure is representative of the figure being paid across the board. These small independent producers might receive perhaps 40% less than that average, and they've very little say in how much they receive. Now, Gillian Martin, the recently appointed Rural Affairs Secretary in the Scottish Government, told me that she acknowledges that it's not going to fix their problems.
I think it's important to point out that this is a temporary, hopefully a stopgap, to tide them over from the worst effects of this. And we are hoping that the price point and the price that they get offered is going to come back up, is going to stabilise, and it's going to tide them over this very serious point where a lot of them are facing an existential crisis.
So what are farmers saying about this package, Kevin?
Yeah, well, they're saying that this isn't going to stop them from losing money. These independent pig farmers are losing, it's estimated, £1 million a month in Scotland alone just now. And this funding, though it is going to be backdated, is going to cover from March gone to August coming up. So that's 5 months, £5 million worth of losses, but a £2 million package. The industry here now is 15% smaller than it was at the start of the year in terms of sow numbers. 4 producers we know have left the sector. Danny Skinner is a pig farmer near Inch in Aberdeenshire, and he says it is a crisis.
The 2 million will take our loss from 35 to 40 pound a pig down to a 25 pound per pig loss. So we are still majorly going to be in debt. We're very grateful for something, but it's not the answer to our problems at the moment.
What does the longer term outlook look like?
Yeah, indeed. Of course, the biggest driver of this crisis, as you'll know, is the oversupply of pork across the continent of Europe because of Spain's export market largely feeding into China, having suddenly been halted because of African swine fever being discovered there. That means that the pork that was meant to be going overseas is now being sold on this continent, and that's really pushing down those wholesale prices. Obviously, as Gillian Martin said there, the hope is that this will effectively fix itself so that supply is level with demand. But Andrew Connan, the president of NFU Scotland, said to me that they do also need to look at the pig sector's sustainability longer term.
That needs retailers to come to party, it needs processors to come to party. We need to see a fair price for the product. At the moment it's well below the cost of production, and that's why the industry is in such a sorrowful state.
Well, Gillian Martin has written to the UK government urging them to support the pig sector across the UK. At the moment, this help is only available in Scotland, and also urging them to increase biosecurity at the border to make sure that the African swine fever at the centre of this crisis in Spain doesn't ever reach our shores.
Kevin, thank you very much. That's Kevin Keane, our Scotland Rural Affairs correspondent. And that is all we've got time for today. I'm Kaz Graham. The producer is Beatrice Fenton. And the programme is a BBC Audio Bristol production.